Head Harvester Bill from the West Coast.
Head Harvester Ed LaFlamme from the East Coast.
Hey, Ed, we just did a leadership series. We asked a whole bunch of leaders what they thought on some great topics.
All right, the next one's going to be incredible because, you know, they get a little bit uneasy on this one, right?
They do.
Yeah.
Their biggest mistake they made. And what did they learn from that mistake?
That's correct.
That's going to be a great one.
This is really one of the best.
The biggest mistake I've made since I've been in business. Gosh, there have been so many. I've almost been bankrupt a couple of times. I think it was probably my lack of really getting the right person and trusting that person. I tried to do too much. I tried to be too much. I took on roles that really weren't conducive to my personality. And then we were heavily dependent upon the H-2B program, and like 90% dependent, because it was so. And then one year we had a disaster where they didn't show up, and so probably me working outside my wheelhouse and being too controlling, and then secondly, dependency on the H-2B program was a little scary. So we're not as dependent now. We're like 40-60 H-2B. Maybe we're like 30-70. 30, and so if they don't come in, then it's not a deal breaker.
What is my biggest mistake? So there's two, because I was prepared for this for an earlier. So the first one, I would say, we have a large operation in Canada. We have franchises across Canada, and back at the time where the pesticide bans were all coming into play, we were a fragmented industry in Canada. You know, you had your landscapers, you had your lawn care, and we didn't really have a space to come together and work together. The one good thing about the pesticide ban is it brought us together and started work, but it was too late, right? The opportunity that you have with an organization like NALP is that we are able to position ourselves because we're a closer industry. You can pick up the phone and call anybody in the industry and say, hey, I'm dealing with something down here right now. You need to pay attention, or I need your help, or anyone from NALP is willing to help. So I feel like we've learned as an industry to not get together and be reactive. We're learning to get together and be proactive. So that would be our first one, is not being reactive. The second one, we launched a brand. One of our first brands, you know, was Weedman, and then we launched Mosquito Hero. And we launched Mosquito Hero as a service offered by Weedman. And we did a real big disservice to the mosquito industry on that, because the industry is huge, and our franchisees kind of added it on as an add-on instead of treating it like its own brand. So really being intentional on the marketing, and what was a miss on my part. That's all on me. And that's something that we're learning now to rectify. And now we're taking TurfBot and doing it a completely separate brand with a focus on TurfBot. But for Mosquito Hero, we need to treat Mosquito Hero like another brand if it's going to grow the way we think it can grow. So I would say that would be my second biggest mistake. I'm sure there's others, but those two stand out.
So I've made a lot of mistakes, probably more mistakes than I done things right. So I'd say the biggest mistake was probably when I was younger, probably treating people, you know, not being a very nice person. Probably young, not knowing a lot, having probably more opportunities than I deserve, and probably being a bit of, not bully's the wrong word, but not treating people with the respect they deserve.
The biggest mistakes, I think, were misjudging people, trusting people. I think I'm an honest person. I'm above board. If you ask me a question, I tell you just what I think. No frosting on the cake. It's pretty hard and pretty fast. I kind of a brutal in a sense. My brother says you're too brutal when you have to tell somebody. I'm not a politician of any kind. I just, you ask me a question, I tell you what I think. And I probably at times I should have kept my mouth shut or, or softened it a little bit.
The biggest mistake that I had in business was immediately after buying Lifescape back in 2006. The first thing that I did is I pressed the sales accelerator, and we ended up growing the company about 60% within 18 months. The problem was that I wasn't paying attention to operations, and the operations engine was, even though the sales was there, the operations to be able to get done, it wasn't there. So the thing you have to do is you have to have your sales and marketing in line with what's going on with your both the operations and support functions. And since we didn't, that got out of whack. And then the recession hit. That forced us through that period of having really intensive learning. And then we got those balanced, and it's changed. We've gone up tenfold in our revenues just by building a strong operations and support platform.
My biggest mistake is believing that I can get people to do, I'm a perfectionist, and believing that I'll get someone to do it 100% like myself. It took me 32 years of business, it's just the last 3 to 4 years, since I came to the reality that you can live with 80%. And since I'm doing that, I believe I'm more with peace. Yep.
I think keeping employees that were causing problems or weren't a good fit on too long. I tend to be the kind of person that gives second and third chances, and I've had maybe more than one time where I extended that consideration to employees without realizing the hit it was giving my team. And by me allowing bad behaviors, bad personality situations to persist, the rest of the team was getting very demoralized. And literally, we all get scared that if I get rid of this person, who's going to do that work? How long is it going to take me to find somebody? I just got them trained. And so your tendency is want to hold on to that and make it work. But I think you need to step back and think, what are the repercussions of making that work? Because a lot of times the detriment to your team is worse than having no person in that position. So that's probably the biggest mistake that I've made that I'm much better about now and nip things in the bud much quicker.
My biggest mistake in business has been, in 23 years of business, has been probably being too cheap and not hiring great lawyers. Looking at that as a really big short-term cost that I couldn't afford at the time, and now I realize when you write a bad contract, it can be more expensive than a good lawyer.
Harvester Ed, were those great answers or what?
They were incredible.
Holy
Right
smokes.
from the heart.
They really were.
Yeah.
Now we hope all of you folks out there can use the answers from these leaders in your business as well. Now go out there and harvest your potential.